There are moments in this country where something shifts beneath our feet, and most people don't realize it until much later. Not because it was hidden, but because it was presented in a way that felt distant, legal, procedural, technical. And that's often how the biggest changes in America happen. Not always through chaos, sometimes through interpretation. Today, we're talking about the recent ruling from the Supreme Court of the United States connected to the legacy of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and why I believe this conversation matters far beyond politics. Because this isn't just about Republicans versus Democrats. This isn't cable news theater. This is about understanding how power actually functions in America, how rights can remain written on paper while becoming harder to exercise in real life, how systems rarely announce transformation loudly. They evolve incrementally, quietly, one interpretation at a time. And if you're not paying attention, you wake up one day realizing the rules changed while everyone was distracted arguing over personalities. What concerns me isn't just the ruling itself, it's the broader pattern we've been watching unfold over the last several years, where institutions are redefining the boundaries of protection, fairness, access, and accountability. And whether people want to admit it or not, the consequences of these decisions never stay confined to courtrooms. Eventually, they reach workplaces, schools, communities, businesses, families. They shape who feels protected by the system and who feels abandoned by it. Today, I want to move beyond outrage and get into understanding because awareness matters more than emotional reaction. If you understand how systems move, you can prepare for the shifts before they fully arrive. And history teaches us something very clearly. Progress is never permanent. Every right in this country has been contested, expanded, restricted, challenged, and reinterpreted. That tension is part of the American story, whether we like it or not. So today, we're going to have an honest conversation about what this ruling may signal, what people are missing, and why understanding institutional power is more important now than ever. I'm Gene Folks, and this is Folks Unfettered. There's a particular kind of silence that follows a decision you know is going to echo for years, but hasn't fully landed yet. Not because it's quiet, but because people haven't realized what just changed. That's where we are right now. The Supreme Court of the United States issued a ruling tied to the foundation of modern civil rights protections, legislation rooted in the spirit of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And like many rulings before it, this one didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived with language, carefully crafted, narrow on its face, but wide in its implications. Let's be clear about something. The Civil Rights Act was never just a law. It was a line drawn in the sand, a declaration that discrimination, whether in employment, housing, or public life, would no longer be tolerated under the authority of the United States. It wasn't perfect. It never fully closed the gap between law and lived experience, but it created something powerful a mechanism to challenge inequality, a way for ordinary people to say, this isn't right and the law is on my side. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. The court didn't come out and say, we're undoing civil rights protections. That's not how power operates at this level. Instead, the ruling reframes how these protections are interpreted, enforced, or challenged. Maybe it narrows what counts as discrimination. Maybe it raises the burden of proof. Maybe it limits who can bring a case or how. And on paper, each of these changes can sound reasonable, even technical. But here's the truth most people miss. Civil rights are not just about what the law says, they're about how difficult it is to use the law. And when you make it harder to prove discrimination, when you raise the bar just enough, you don't eliminate rights, you thin them out. If this feels familiar, it should. We've seen it before. Not always a direct rollback, but as a recalibration, a shift in interpretation that changes outcomes without changing the headline. That's how systems evolve, quietly, incrementally, one ruling at a time. And what makes this moment different isn't just the decision itself, it's the broader context. We're living in a time where the definition of fairness, equality, and access is actively being renegotiated. Not in the streets, but in the courtrooms. So the question isn't just, what did the court decide? The real question is, what does this make harder for people to challenge? Because that's where the impact lives. Not in legal summaries, not in press releases, but in real people deciding whether it's even worth it to fight. Here's something that I've learned, both in business and in life. Systems don't have to deny you outright. They just have to make the path so difficult that you opt out. That's the risk. Not that rights disappear overnight, but that enforcement becomes so complex, so uncertain, so resource intensive that fewer people pursue it. And when fewer people pursue it, less gets challenged. And when less gets challenged, the system quietly resets its baseline. Now, this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Because awareness creates strategy. If the legal landscape shifts, then individuals, businesses, and communities have to shift with it. We have to understand what protections still exist, what thresholds have changed, and where the new lines are being drawn. Because ignoring the shift doesn't stop it. It just leaves you unprepared for it. There's a misconception that progress is permanent. That once something is written into law, it's settled. History says otherwise. Rights are not static. They are interpreted, tested, redefined, and sometimes quietly restricted. So this moment is not just about a ruling. It's about recognizing that the ground beneath the law is always moving. And the people who understand that movement are the ones best positioned to navigate it. It's going to take all of us. It's going to take all of us to pay attention. Look, I know our lives are busy, and I know there's so much noise. And some of you are dealing with children and special needs kids and unemployment and higher gas prices and higher food prices. And then we have these wars and all of this uncertainty. And it is in all that chaos and in all that noise when the system quietly redefines and manipulates the rules. And the question that you have to ask yourself when you're considering looking into the Supreme Court ruling regarding the impact it's going to have on the Civil Rights Act of 1964, let me just leave you with this. If you are a woman, an independent woman, with a credit card in your own name in your wallet, you thank the Civil Rights Act of 1964. If you are an immigrant who came to this country seeking opportunity and advancement and ownership, you can thank the Civil Rights Act of 1964. If you are a part of the LGBTQ plus community and you are married to someone of the same sex, or you are just looking to be accepted for who you are, you can thank the Civil Rights Act of 1964. I want everyone to understand, and I've said this for decades, that without the Civil Rights of 1964, that a lot of other groups would not have been able to take advantage of all of the things that this country offers that was built on the backs of my people, of people that look like me. And we fought long and hard to earn these rights, right? The ability to, all Black people wanted was to be equal, was to participate in the American process, was to contribute. We've all contributed in some capacity to this country, whether it's our inventions or whether it's our culture or whether it's music or whether it's art, whether it's coming to the defense and aid of people who were also discriminated against and treated unfairly because we, or my ancestors, understood what that felt like. And as a man who was born in 1964, I cannot imagine having served this country honorably, built the businesses that I've built, participated in some of the most influential segments in the society, whether it comes to taking care of our veterans or contributing to charitable organizations or building a financial foundation to pass on from generation to generation. Even my ability to decide about who to vote for would not have been possible without the blood and the sacrifices of my ancestors who fought, justifiably so, to be treated not as 3/5 as a human being, but as a complete human being who participated in the building of these United States of America. And little by little, those rights are slowly being taken away. And it's going to take all of us to stand up and fight so that we, the people, can take advantage of what the founding fathers said, which is we all just want to participate in a way, and we all want to pursue our own version of what happiness means to us. Thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Gene Folks, and this is Folks Unfettered. And as always, I'm that brother of light, dropping wisdom in your left ear and knowledge in your right.